The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
And I was like, yes, hi. I was so excited.
Oh, we said hi. Let me get that hi again.
Okay, hi.
A guy get to a point and he asks you to marry him, he really wants to marry you.
Mm-hmm. He ready.
Like he really feels like, you know what, she's the one. She's the one.
You already getting the goods. You got to pay for it. Bring me the ring and get on one knee.
Okay.
Or two.
You need time to observe someone and really get a sense of how well do they treat you, how well do they handle adversity.
You're not the one because you don't have grit, the perseverance. You ain't really want me because you ready to give up. Because I said no, you shouldn't have asked. But since I said no, now it's your job to stay in the game and try to fight for it.
Boy on 5 Heartbeats, where you make the announcement you're going solo at the awards ceremony.
Welcome back.
What's up? The One Night Shut Thing. Welcome to the podcast about many different topics from the perspective of 3 married couples. Welcome back. Happy to be here with you all again this week. I was thinking about like what I was going to say at this part, what my word of the day was going to be, which order I was going to do it in, all of that. Hey, Thomas, I even looked up, I was getting ready to try to use a SAT word like you use all the time. But I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go with it simple. I'm going to go ahead and jump in there first. I hear you laughing, Ladine. I'm going to go ahead and jump in there first with the word of the day. Y'all, because I just feel good.
I like it. Yeah.
I feel good. Before we got on the call, I was on the phone with a girlfriend of mine. And I was like, I got to go do this podcast. You know, I don't know how I'm really feeling. I'm just kind of tired, blah, blah, blah. And every time, and I've mentioned it before, but every time, regardless of how I'm feeling when I come in this space, like you guys always just make me feel better. We've had great laughs already. Oh, y'all, and I forgot. I don't know if you saw when I started recording.
Yes.
So for the listeners out there, you know, time together, we're just kind of, you know, gelling, getting in the groove, catching up a little bit before we get on. And we realized that we have such a great time, and there's really good material that actually comes up during the pre and post show, actually. So we needed to start recording it, right? But just like I do on my Zoom calls, I'm telling y'all, even at work, I have to assign someone else to start recording because I forget every time. So we were probably on the pre-call probably 30 minutes before I was like, oh, shit. This is good stuff. Press record.
Right.
But anyway, just feeling really good. On that same phone call with my girlfriend, again, was just acknowledging, and I think that was the start of the shift of my mood, actually. So thanks. Didn't even know what you were doing for me at the time. But just kind of, you know, we were catching up, and she asked me, you know, how the business was going. And just as I was talking about that, just acknowledging how blessed we are, like COVID, yes, we were impacted, but nowhere near to the degree that so many other people, you know, were impacted and losing their jobs and their homes and people's lives and all of that. And so just incredibly blessed and happy, and I just feel good. And this is going to be a great show. I almost started to say, because while we were doing the pre-show, I was getting a little punchy, you know, so I almost felt like that might have been my word for the day. But and my tone going into this podcast today. But so we'll see.
I don't punchy word again.
I
You mean
know.
froggy?
We'll see. We'll see if my punchiness or frogginess, creeps in there. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I feel like I'm on the edge. I'm on the edge, so we could go either way. So, all right. So, Jr., why don't you go ahead next and tell us how you feeling today?
Ooh, I thought he was gonna put me after poo. Thank you. I I'm feeling empowered. Um, I I talked about this last night on our show, but two things I want to mention. I had the honor of being a guest on Take a Knee for Marvel vs. DC, and they were doing a creator series, and they asked me to come on and as one of their creator guests and just talk about the network and our start and where we've grown and where we're heading. So, like a lot of things, it's good to hear you say it. Even when you know things, it's good to verbalize it and to put it out there. So that was an honor. And then secondly, we got our first, we do listener questions every week on the Defy Life show. And we got our first cross show listener. One of the listeners from this show also listens to that show and kind of asked kind of a crossbreed of a question. So they asked what is our biggest sports pet peeve. So it was cool to have somebody acknowledge that, yes, I do listen to One Eye Shut. That's why I'm asking this question. So that was cool. But yeah, so, and also just feeling empowered out, due to COVID, my job went away. And so I've had a couple interviews over the last couple days, which have gone well. And looks like I'm about to be set up for a bidding war over yours truly. So it's going to be fun. So
yes, it's exciting for me too.
Of course. That's where you go check. I guarantee you, I go check my wife's Google history. It's going to be like, how much is so and so of how much is fill in the blank for a 2-week check. I know it's your Google history. So, oh man, but yeah. So just I'm a big believer that enjoy the times when you up, because it's life. You're gonna be down at times too. So those times when you up, man, enjoy that shit and ride that wave. So. And I know I'm getting without getting long-winded. Also want to give a shout out because I'm proud as hell of Kim from Anything, Everything, and Nothing. Her and Tyrone from Black Gumbo. They opened up a restaurant in Columbia, a wing restaurant.
Wow!
And they have been killing it over the last 2 weeks. Nonstop for the last 2 weeks. They're in the hood. Everybody's supporting. Kim has quit her job. They're doing so well. Which she planned to do, but she was kind of on the fence. And once she saw that they were really getting support, people are coming from as far as Greenville, Charlotte. People are coming from all over the state to support them. And the food is good as hell. So shout out to Kim and Tyrone. Nothing But Wings.
Nothing But Wings.
Yeah. So I'm actually building their website. I'm throwing that out there because I feel like I'm a part of it. So their website will be launching this week. They did a soft launch, and we're gonna do just weekends. But with that demand, they are open 7 days a week.
Congratulations!
Yeah. So shout out to Kim and Tyrone.
Congratulations! Definitely congratulations, Kim.
No doubt.
Yeah. So that's all I got. Thanks for putting me first.
Kita, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful. Well, my word of today, I would say rejuvenated. I guess that'll work. Yeah, that's it.
You've been hanging around Thomas Stevens, ain't you?
The reason why I feel that way is because over the weekend, I spent my sister's 39th birthday in Charlotte, and we shout out to Toya. She took us out on her boat, the Lake Norman, and it was like 6 of us, some of her close friends or whatever, and also a family member, and we got towed up on that boat. I feel like I feel like I'm a boat girl. Like that's me. That's my thing. I need to be laid out in the shade.
Here you go. You go one time and that's your thing. That's what I'm talking about,
Hey,
Sheila.
that's right. That's
Yes,
why
I
you
came
gotta
back.
keep
I
having
came back as a
new
new woman.
experiences.
I know that's right.
So we really enjoyed ourselves. We had like a big bottle of Patron. It was just so good to just get back to those old days again. Twisted on the lake. I
Happy.
even jumped out on the lake, y'all. So y'all know I was told off the boat. Jump
You
right
jumped off the boat.
there you go. Completely into the water. So I feel good right about now. I'm suffering now
Can you
because I got a
swim,
headache.
Peter?
I still got a headache, but I'm good.
Can you swim?
Oh yeah, I can swim. I'm not the best, but I can swim. Yes.
Okay, okay. So you know that's, but she's not even exaggerating a little bit when she says toe up, right? Because
Right.
today is Wednesday, 3 days later, she's still.
That was a good one.
Yes.
I'm paying for it, but I'm good.
That's what's up.
That's when you know you can't do it no more. I'm telling you, I be having them hangovers that last like 3 or 4 days. It's like, come on, son. Why did
I'm
this
telling you, it's crazy the older you get.
Yeah, man.
Where you cannot drink. Like that's why I kind of stick to wine instead of like other stuff. But honey, I had it all on that boat.
3 days later, clearly.
Oh, I love this.
Okay. All right, Ladine, how you doing? So damn silly.
Oh shit. Well, I'm doing good. I am doing great today. My word of the day today. Um, let's see, it's definitely annoyed. And I say that because I was so annoyed that I started giving out annoyed energy. Like I was being really annoying to my family all day, like just doing stupid shit for no reason. And I love it though. It's great. My JR always says one of the main things he loves about me is that I have like this childlike nature. But I mean, I know it could get annoying at times. But I just love it. Just annoying my kids, running up to them, just they have this meme and this video on the internet of this mom. And it's like, it's this like hood trap music, ABCDEFG HIJK element. It's mad funny because you see these chicks and they're dancing and they're like twerking, right? And so they twerk into this to this ABC song, and out of nowhere, JR shows me the video, and the little girl gets up and starts twerking, and the mother's like, "What's happening right now?" Anyway, it was great. So I, run into the kids' room. So I run into the kids' room, start trying to do my half-ass twerk. Took about A, B, C, D, E, F. It was great, y'all. It was hilarious. I bothered JR. So yeah, I was really annoyed, and so I just gave out that same annoying energy, and it was funny. It was funny. So yeah, that's my word of the day. But other than that, as always, get up on here to the one eye shut, and it's like, hi, because we are popping. But anyway, yeah, that's
Doing it well. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Thanks to our listeners. Y'all are showing us much love, and we love it. So thank you. Thank you. All right, Thomas.
Yeah, I don't have anything too special for tonight. My word is eager. After of course, it seems like I'm always talking about Carter, Carter, Carter. However, I'm pretty eager to see how he performs in the scrimmage on Wednesday. So, I started off on that, but once I heard Jay is about to, they're about to get in the bidding war over Jay, I'm eager to hear what his salary is. That's my guy. So, hey, I'm eager to hear that. Then I hear Kim and them, they done jumped off the boat and they doing well. So now I'm eager to make Kim and them commercial. For the wing spot. We put sauce on everything. Come on down to Number Wings. So, I'm mad eager now. So, that's my word for the night. Eager.
Oh man, that's all right.
That's all right. Spreading the love when one of us
and I'm eager to wake up these bones. So
I bet you I know more eager.
So let's make this a quick show.
Because we don't want her to go to sleep.
Right. Oh, nigga find his wallet, can't tell him nothing.
Peter, your post show might be a little different than ours. We'll dismiss y'all early, no problem. You ain't even got to stay and hang around.
Yeah.
We want y'all to go ahead and get them bones.
Yeah, Pooh got post production tonight.
Show won't get posted for 2 days.
Damn, that's a lot of bones moving.
You're crazy.
All right, Al, bring us home. How you feeling tonight?
Yeah. So my word for the day is refreshing. That's my word for the day. And so I think this show, we all agree that kind of regardless of our energy coming into as we start the show, it is something that refreshes us all. So I think that our show is refreshing. And I think just even some of the tidbits, because I'm with Pooh, hearing the good news that we share just in the opening part gives me just a little pep in my step and energizes me a little bit. So shout out to there. I'm refreshing is my word also because I went and bought probably like 12 mangoes from the supermarket today. And part of it was because they were on sale, and I got a bad habit of when things are on sale, I just can't help myself but just buying twice as many as I probably came into the store.
I know that's
and that's on the no,
because I just like, oh man,
twice.
I just get crazy with it, right?
If we could stick to twice every time, that would be good. But there are times that it's 3 times as much, 4 times as much, 7 times as much, and it's like, babe, okay, cool.
That's a whole nother story about why I am that. It's a whole nother podcast. But the reality is, I bought a lot of mangoes, and part of it is also because they are refreshing to me. So I have really been eating a lot of mangoes over the last 2 weeks. And it's because, one, they are becoming like my favorite fruit, and just the texture, the taste, like it's not a coincidence that my bootleg drink is Mango Tango. Like it's something with me and mangoes that we got a connection, and I'm just committing to the mango life because I just really
God, I love mangoes.
Yeah, they are just all of that and a bag of chips, right? So that's
glad
part
you
of
love them.
The last reason why refreshing is my word is because I've also, over the last 3 days, spent some time kind of reminding myself about the early days of the culture of hip hop. And so I'm working on this project. Me and my wife, we authored a novel, Tourists in Your Own Town. We are on Amazon. Go check us out. And over the last few months, I've been working to take that story and develop it into a script, right? And with 6, 7 other people, we've been working on this project, and hopefully we will have a series streaming. I'm claiming that we will have a series streaming in the near future.
I didn't know we were sharing that.
Hey, I'm throwing it out there because we have just submitted this project.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We just submitted it to our first streamer.
Share that.
streamer to get that out there. And word back to what you was talking about earlier, JR, about sharing these things, right? Getting it out there in the universe. So we put it in as part of their trying to get more diverse shows on Netflix, but all this is tied to hip hop. The lead character is a guy who's coming out of New York City in the early 80s and is a product of hip hop culture. So I'm trying to prepare myself as the official creative consultant on the project. I'm trying to prepare myself with what was that guy thinking about? Who was he? So I can convey this so this character, so the actor, the lead actor, can really understand who this character was coming out of the early 80s, going up into rural New York and wanting to promote this culture of hip hop. As I'm watching these documentaries, listening to a couple of podcasts, I was reminded of how refreshing hip hop was to me, and even still is in some ways, and how it can change my energy. But how it was new, it was a new refreshing, kind of like tasting a new fruit, back then in the 80s. And I'm listening to kind of what life was like, and just as they were creating, scratching, and the breakdancing, and just how everything was new and innovative. Yeah, I'm refreshed from the culture of hip hop, and it reminded me that that's what that culture does to me, and that's why I am the way I am. It's not just a coincidence. Me and hip hop have been that way for 30 years or so. Refreshing. That's my word.
And now, going back to your refreshing, like with mangoes,
yes,
let you know, because I've been into the little documentaries too, trying to know my history more with YouTube videos. And so mangoes is like your roots, like from Ghana. Like that's a main fruit.
Hello.
Yeah, so
Thank
there
you.
you go. That's a popular fruit that Africans, are known to eat is mango trees.
I'm gonna see if I can plant me one.
Good to know.
Yeah.
And so there's and this is the last thing I'm gonna say, and you can move on because my MC host wife next to me is like, okay, buddy, your little word is way too long, right? But there's a movie, Pele. There's a movie about Pele, the soccer player. And there's a scene in the movie where he's like learning how to play soccer or practicing soccer by kicking mangoes, right? But it's because there are mango trees everywhere. And I'm sitting there watching the movie like, wait. There's a place on this planet where mango trees, there's just trees of mangoes and people could just walk in and just be grabbing mangoes. Why the hell am I living in Georgia? Like, there's a problem. I need to plant me some mangoes.
Yeah, I don't know if the trees are gonna survive in Georgia.
We gonna try.
Survive. You gotta try because they do survive in tropical climate. Like in Puerto Rico, we just go pick them off the tree.
That's what I'm talking about. But the weather patterns are changing, so I'm trying to change with the weather.
So this apparently is the season for planting in our house. Because he's going to get this mango tree. This is the first time I'm hearing that he wanted to plant a mango tree.
Just saying.
But it's cool because I've thought about a couple of trees. And so I've started, this is my first experience with gardening. And so I've been growing a few things. And so I definitely want to add trees. So we can definitely add. We can try it out. And tomatoes, those 40-inch slips, y'all, because I've got a couple of grape tomato plants. And, there's these things called hornworms. These motherfuckers are trying not to let me be great. Okay? Like, they're the grossest things looking like this shit. It really looks like some sci-fi.
That's really what it looks like.
Creature, like that hangs on to the vines like for dear life. So it's not even like it's a quick, but
I really feel like I have seen Godzilla versus the Hornworm before. Now that I think about it, I really think they made that movie.
I don't think that they did, but either way, like it's crazy. And so yes, we are definitely. I'm good with the mango plant. We can, and so we're gonna stop now, right? Because I feel like there's been some rambling going on. But I will let you know I didn't stop you because I wanted you to I guess I participated in the, and I won't even say shameless. Well, it was, yes, I participated in the shameless plug of the book, of the upcoming streaming. This y'all, this is getting ready to be a top show, like real talk. And so, I let you go on a little longer than I would have. So y'all look out. Y'all look out for it. Tourists in your own town is getting ready to blow up. So we're bringing a lot of great energy into this episode. All of the words of the day, everything was positive. Like we went from refreshing to eager to rejuvenated, happy, feeling good. Even the annoying, right? While that word was negative, like, she put a spin on it and she had fun with it, So it seems like we're all in a good place. As you all know, sometimes we switch up the things that we're going to talk about. And so we decided the last minute to change our topic for tonight. And we're going to go back to current events kind of topic tonight. And we wanted to talk about the latest incident, the Wisconsin shooting of Jacob Blake. Guys, what is going on? Like, I feel like it started to feel like we were making some grounds, possibly, at least with the amount of exposure, the amount of people that were participating in the movement, the amount of conversations that were happening, the amount of white people who seemed to want to participate in the movement in positive ways. Like, there's been a lot going on. As far as the police brutality, it seemed like it quieted down a little bit in terms of the amount of incidents. And, and I'm saying seems like I'm hesitating a little bit because, that's just, I don't know that that's factual, right? Just may not have been as publicized. I don't know. Maybe I haven't been watching the news as much. I don't know. But here we are again in the same place, it feels like. So what are your thoughts? What did you first think? What was your first thought when you heard the story break?
Yeah.
Al? I'm sorry. Thomas, were you going to talk?
No, that was me, but Al, go ahead.
Sure.
I just don't want nobody saying nothing. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah. I think my first thoughts simply were, here we go again. And also, actually, I also thought that kind of like, wow. I mean, I actually thought how long it had been since George Floyd, 90 days or so. So I guess I was a little amazed that it taken that long. That was the other thing that kind of went through my mind. Because there has been years or cycles where it just seemed like it was happening a lot more frequently in certain summers or certain years. So it did that also crossed my mind, like, oh damn, it's been like 90 days, okay. But that was my initial thought, just to answer your question.
Like, that is just so crazy to me, right? That one of your thoughts was that 90 days is a long time for nothing to have happened. You know what I mean? That we've gotten to that place where our expectation is that one of us is going to get killed. And oh my God, wow, it took 90 days. That's amazing. Like that is sickening. Right. That is the way that we're thinking. Like, that shit is just crazy. JR?
My initial thoughts were like, my first word was damn. Like, really, just like almost out of disbelief, because people are literally still in the streets protesting this kind of behavior. So that was my first word, and then it immediately shifted to really, like, how long is it going to take for people to start digging up his history? and tell us about the time he got suspended in third grade and how they're going to justify this one. So that was my initial thought, is because I'm used to the routine because it's happening already.
Kita?
When I first, my initial thought, I'm gonna be real with y'all. So, my initial thought when I heard it, my sister told me about it, and then I didn't think of nothing. Like, I was just like, oh, it happens, you know. So I didn't even, had no emotions to it. It just felt like that's the norm. Like, well, that happens. But when I actually saw it finally, because I knew we probably would have been talking about it, because I just saw it today, and I saw his sister, talking or whatever. It put a tear in my eye just to see how close that cop was, like, shooting him, and I felt really bad, sad once again.
Ladine?
Oh my goodness. Jay told me, and when he told me, it was definitely, a quick. He said another man got shot, and so he explained to me what happened, and it's just it's always heavy. It always comes down as like a heavy burden. Sometimes it's like chills throughout my body. But it's definitely always a heavy feeling that just like flows through me, because I don't even think I've seen the video yet. I've been keeping away from the television probably for about the last month straight, as far as like news is concerned. My family keeps asking me if I'm up to date on everything that's happening, and I'm just not up to date on any of it. So then when Jay said that he survived, I was like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? So it's just I don't I just don't even know. I just don't even know what to say anymore. I'm beyond at a loss for words. It's just like, with all of these protests, with the awareness of the world awareness of what's happening, and how, live and real this is. Not that it's never always been real, and not to take away from what has happened in the past, but because of the level of global awareness that is happening right now, why is this still happening? It's just, yeah, I mean, I feel like it makes you angry. It makes you not even sad. There's just a level of numbness that comes along with it. It's just so many things. And it worries me every time my husband steps out the door. I'm worried every time my husband steps out the door with my children. I don't want to say I'm worried, because I don't like to bring that energy towards it. I don't think anybody does. But every time they walk through the door, I know that I was worried when they stepped out the door, because the relief that comes through my bones and my body when they come in the door is that's when I realize, you know what I mean? Like, what it is. Because I've really, really looked to not bring energy towards what I don't want to happen, and prefer to bring energy towards what I do want to happen. But it's just, I think it's beyond overwhelming for all of us as people. And I just really just don't even know anymore.
And so this is, I mean, exactly everything that you just said, Ladine, is the trauma that we talk about, or that you hear people speak of when when they're speaking of the trauma that oppressed people have to go through on a daily basis. Right? Like, so it's all of these emotions, it's all of these reactions, it's all of these realities of, oh my God, every day or every time my children and my husband leave the house, I'm scared to death because of the reality of society when they step out the door. Right? The fact that we're sitting here and it's just, I'm numb to it. Like that comes from, being overwhelmed and on overload for all of the emotions all of the time. Like, and so when you talk about white privilege, this is shit that white folks don't have to think about, don't have to deal with. Like your shit is on easy street most of your life. Even, and I'm just talking about as listen, look, let me stop before I get in trouble, right? People are gonna be writing us emails and protesting Defy Life and shit. Okay, so Thomas, what were your thoughts, your immediate thoughts or feelings?
These guys really don't give a damn. They're not even concerned about consequences. That's what I think.
So Jay talked a little bit about, justification. Right. And so what would you say? Okay, so when Al and I first, I think we were laying in the bed and, and the news came on and this story broke. So Al immediately says to me, what do you think their story is going to be? Meaning the police officers, right? And so immediately, I responded. And so that's where our conversation started with, right? So if you had to guess what that police officer or police officers are going to use for justification of why they shot him, what do you think they're going to say?
He was going to his car to get his gun. That's what I think.
Everybody agree?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jay. No, I was just saying it's so crazy the way they have it like planned almost. So apparently the cop, before he shot him, said put down the knife. The same way they always say stop resisting, so they can justify in the moment to people around them why they're beating the shit out of you. So the cop screamed, put down the knife, because the guy that recorded it heard the cop say that. But of course, you see he didn't have a knife, and nobody recovered a knife from the scene. So that's the first thing they went to without, innately he went to that. Like, he didn't even have to think about it. Like, so that's just how they're programmed at this point to justify it.
I never thought about that. It could be part of, listen, guys, as long as you say this,
right,
you'll be clear. Which is really what that has been the history. These cops are claiming that I was in fear of my life, and the law is like, well, if you're in fear of your life, you have the right and authority. We're giving you that privilege. Them, most of us, we ain't got that right. That ain't how it is for us. But for cops, there is this special consideration that, yeah, if they feel like they in fear of their life, they can shoot to kill.
And so they found a knife in his vehicle, but not on his person. So there's no way, like, the knife could have gotten put away. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's terrible.
I hadn't heard about the knife I hadn't heard anything about a knife, actually. And I too have not watched the whole video because I understand that there's a full version out now.
Well, a different version. Yeah. So it's like the person is from a different angle.
Got you. So I have not watched that. But if there was a knife in his car, I mean, that's even more unfortunate. Because that gives them, like, that really speaks to the justification. Like, that helps them to justify their actions.
Right, and why can't he have a knife in his car if he needs to protect himself? You know what I'm saying? It's just, I have have a knife in my car to make sure
So
to
do
make sure
I.
I can protect myself. You know,
Right.
fuck around. I usually have a knife on me at all times to
Right.
make sure that I can protect myself.
Hey, I
So
carry a knife in my bag. Yeah.
come on, right? So it's like it drives me crazy when they use that against us. When you have people walking around, they have their what is it called? They have their conceal and carry, and there's people that are walking around all the time with guns. So
Well,
what makes my knife to protect me any different?
right.
Or
And what, like, sorry, but like, you mentioned people walking around with guns. During the protest of after Mr. Blake got shot, during the protest, there was a 17-year-old kid, 17-year-old white guy, who was walking around shooting people at the protest. He killed 2 people, injured another, and was walking around just with a gun, with a long gun. Cops didn't do anything. He was able to go home, go to sleep. After he shot people, he was walking around in front of the cops with the gun. They didn't even stop him and check him. He was able to go home, go to sleep, and they arrested him the next morning. So it's that kind of shit. That's just like it's
an
blatant,
excuse.
right?
Ain't nothing but excuse because there's really no excuse for shooting somebody 7 times.
Right.
Like, so even if you're saying,
In the back.
okay, I was in fear of my life for whatever reason, I freaked because I thought he was going for something. Yeah, but why did you shoot him 7 times in the back though? And so to me, like, I think while I am able to understand the use of force, once as a society we justify that a cop or determine that a cop has used excessive force, my problem with all of this is that people are not holding them accountable. And that is what I said 90 days ago, and that's what I'm continue to stand on, because that's why they feel like I have nothing to fear. Because ain't nobody going to jail for this shit.
Okay, so at the risk of me being the bad guy here, because I know I'm going to be in the minority. So, Al, in the same way that you just said, nobody's holding the cops accountable. I agree wholeheartedly with that statement. However, I also feel like no one is holding, and we'll stick to just this particular case for now, right? No one is holding Jacob Blake accountable either. And that is one of the problems that I have with some of these narratives. And again, y'all, don't misunderstand me. I believe that these police are out of control. I believe that there is a lot of police brutality happening that is unjustified. I believe that it is often about race. I get all of that, absolutely. I also do think, however, that we have some accountability sometimes in some of these cases, and I don't understand why Jacob Blake did not stop. As you have a police officer saying to you, because the pieces that I saw, and again, I have not seen the whole thing, so I don't know the whole context. But from what I saw, Jacob Blake started out on one side of the car. He walked completely around the front of the car, all the way around to the other side, with a police officer pointing a gun at him, saying, "Stop, stop, stop." He continued to walk as if no one was talking to him, got to his car, leaned in.
So,
let me say it again. I am not saying that this man was justified in shooting him 7 times in the back. That is not what I'm saying. That is not what I believe. I just don't understand why we do things sometimes that we know is not going to turn out well. Whether it's right or wrong, like, that's not what I'm arguing. Like, it doesn't matter. Jacob, what did you think was going to happen when you refused to obey the order of this police officer and then you went to lean in? I don't know what he was going to do. Get in your car, getting something out of your car. I don't know.
Well,
I don't think he thought he'd get shot 7 times.
Right, that and the fact that
Why not?
when
in the climate that we're in, why didn't you think you were going to get shot?
well, because if you watch the entire video, especially from the second video that's out now, who picked up the video earlier and picked up the entire altercation, he was there trying to break up a domestic dispute. So when he went to talk to the cops, and this is what I'm hearing, when he went to talk to the cops about what's going on, they charged him and put him on the ground. So after wrestling with the cops and getting up because he didn't do anything, he got up and was like, "I'm getting the fuck out of here." So he'd already saw that something bad could happen, and I hadn't even done anything. So he was really just trying to get out of there. So I'm sure in that moment, he wasn't thinking, "Then these dudes are going to try to settle the situation down. They're going to make it worse. So I'm trying to get out of here." So I'm sure he probably blacked out in the sense of whatever it takes for me to get out of here, I'm getting out of here. So considering that they'd already thrown him on the ground, the belief that they were going to be reasonable was out of his head, I'm sure.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. And so, yes, I heard about the struggle. I mean, I heard all of that, pieces of that story. It doesn't change my question. You were just in a shuffle on the ground where they threw you, supposedly, on the ground. And you just struggled with police officers.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is in that situation, I've been in that situation. And in that situation, when you are being held down by police officers, when you're not in the wrong, and when you're able to go, you want to go.
But you weren't. That's my point, Jay.
Right,
he wasn't able to go. The
right,
police officer was telling him to stay.
Right. So what do? Do you stay there and get your ass whooped, or do you try to get away?
What?
They already tried. They already had him on the ground for nothing. So do you stay there and get your ass whooped, or do you try to get away? He wasn't fighting them. He wasn't fighting them. He was trying to get away. They threw him on the ground. And so that's what I'm asking. Do you stay there and get your ass whooped and know that I'm probably going to die if they beat me to death right here? Or do I just try to get away?
Because I think this is a case of...
and get your ass whipped.
Hell
like
no.
I said before.
No.
I just don't... I personally, yes, I would, Jay. And like I've said before, to me, you stay and you do whatever they're asking you to do in the moment.
They weren't asking him to do anything. They threw him on the ground.
They were telling him to stop.
Right. That was after
That's what they were asking him to do.
They were. But what I'm saying, for one, we can't hold civilians to the same level of accountability that we hold police officers to. Secondly, when somebody's beating you on the ground 2-on-1, rationale kind of goes out of the window. You're trying to survive. And so human nature, survival is to get away, not to stay there and take it and say, well, this is the best of, this is the less of both evils. Your human nature, flight, your flight instinct takes over and says, hey, I got to get out of here.
Except as a human, you have two instincts. It's fight, flight.
Right. He didn't fight.
So it's not. I'm saying, no, Jay. I'm just saying you're presenting this as if that's human nature would make him leave. Of course you're going to get up and try to get away. And all I'm saying to you is that's not human nature. You have two choices in human nature: fight or flight. He chose to flee. And what I'm saying is, don't act like it's so ridiculous if he had chosen to stay and fight, because according to you, that's also human nature.
Right, but are you that's why I'm asking for clarity. Are you recommending that he fought them? If he stayed and fought them?
I am recommending, like I always do, that you follow the command of the police. And if I were in that situation, I believe that I would not have continued, because he was already up. It's not like they were continuing to beat him, Jay. He got up.
He got
And
up. They didn't let him up. He got
I
up.
understand. I
Right.
understand. But what I'm saying is he was not continuously being beaten. Right? They allowed him to get up.
No, they
His
did not. There's
initiative-
a
Listen
difference.
To what I'm
And so,
saying.
no,
Listen
I'm
to what
listening,
saying.
but
Let me
there's a difference
finish,
in somebody
Jay.
allowing
Let
you to
me
get up and you
finish.
getting up.
He initiated getting up, but like you said, it's 2-on-1. They could
Right.
have kept him on the ground. You got two people fighting one. So when I say allow, I mean he started to get up and they did not continue to beat him so that he had to stay down. That's what I mean by allow.
Okay,
And so he was no longer being beaten. He was walking away.
Right. So what
were
was
saying to him.
so let me ask you this. If they threw him on the ground initially without even knowing what was going on, presented and from like initially not even asking his name, threw him on the ground and started hitting him and scuffling with him. And do you think like his thought, do you think that when they're telling him with guns drawn to come back, that they were just wanting to talk it out? That they were going to de-escalate the situation? No, I think like that's a question. Like, because in that moment, after someone accosts me and they pull out their weapon and tell me to come back, I'm surely not thinking that they're trying to de-escalate at that point.
I hope you're not thinking that you walking away and trying to get in your car is going to de-escalate it either.
Right. So
that's not what you're thinking.
That's not what I'm saying is if somebody wants to shoot me and kill me, they're going to do it. If they have the intent to not de-escalate that situation, and if he doesn't do exactly what they want to from the beginning, that moment was over. At that point, they were going to kill him. Whether it was beating him to death, shooting him if he walked away, handcuffing him and beating him in the car. At some point, they were going to kill him anyway. Like walking away at that point was his instinct telling him, get the hell out of here. Regardless of what happens behind me, I know what's going to happen if I stay. Like there's no alternative to if somebody wants to kill you with a gun and they right in front of you, you at their mercy.
I understand what you're saying, Jay, but I do understand what Gina's saying also. I do think though that there's got to be some laws. There's definitely got to be something to change the way that they react, because there's a difference of somebody walking away. There's a difference between somebody resisting arrest. They are able to play this however they want and say that him getting into his car was resisting arrest, or and it's really fucked up because I feel like unless you put your hands on the cops or you draw a gun on them, you're not in danger. You know what I'm saying? If I'm running away from you or I'm fucking walking away from you, you're not in danger. I'm not putting you in danger. So I'd rather you call and get some more police down here. And, I don't know. What are you going to do? Have a high-speed chase? Like, what does that lead to? So I see what Gina means when she says, like, why, what are you doing? But I see what Jay means, when he's like, but they already whooped my ass. If I stay on this fucking ground, they probably gonna put their knee on my neck and kill me. So at least if I fucking try to walk away, maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to get in that car. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what
I don't know. It's just, it's fucked up to even have to be that person.
Right.
And make those decisions.
To make
within
that
a couple
decision.
seconds. Yeah.
I don't think it's an either or, because yes, I think when you talk about, following the commands of police, I think that's something that we would advise. I think it's also something that people don't do all the time. And it's not just a matter of following the police or not following the police's instructions. To me, the bigger issue will still be how they responded to what I saw as no threat to your life at all.
Right.
And you pumped 7 shots into somebody's back and I see no evidence that your life was being threatened. And as far as I'm concerned, as a society, for anyone, if your life is not being threatened, you do not have the right to take somebody's life.
Take somebody else's life,
You don't
right?
do
That
that. And if you when you do that, and when you cross that line to where your response was not reciprocal to what the level of threat was, as a society, it shouldn't be about, yes, we can talk about whether or not they responded, and we'll give you, or you followed the laws of the police, we'll give you a speeding ticket or whatever the misdemeanor thing is for not following the law of a cop, whatever the orders of a policeman. But the bigger crime here that is the fact that this officer, with no threat on his life, shot somebody 7 times in the back. And that, to me,
we don't know that there was not a perceived threat on his life.
I mean, I'm sure, to what we said earlier, that's going to be their claim, that yes, there's going to be a perceived threat. And I also believe that as a society, legally, we are really granting that to the cops at this stage. And to me, that's what needs to be changed in the law. That we should no longer say, you know what, if a cop gets up on the stand and swears on the Bible that he perceived or she perceived her life being threatened, we will say, you know what, you had the right to kill nobody. That shit is gone. As far as I'm concerned, if we don't find no evidence of a threat, you're going to be held accountable for that shit.
I agree.
And that would be wonderful in a perfect world. But I mean, let's be realistic, because we are talking about humans, and I do believe that it's all in their training, right? That's where we've got to address this thing in the beginning, because as we talked about, there was a time where cops were trained to maim. That's no longer the case. They are trained to kill.
Right.
And so for me, it's all in the training. This is what they have been trained to do, and unfortunately, we get the brunt of their training at a disproportionate level to everybody else.
But maybe they're trained to kill because the law leans towards that type of training. So if the law is saying, you know what, we will allow you to kill somebody if you say that you were feeling threatened, then okay, that's how the training is going to look. But if the law changes to say, we don't play those shit no more, you better have evidence, the training will adjust, because they will say, listen, you have to, if you don't have any evidence of the threat, you're going to have to de-escalate and deal with it some other kind of way. You can no longer just shoot to kill. That has to stop.
Right. And
I agree, but even with that, like, you could maim somebody, threat on your life, like in this situation. He was not facing them. He could have. They could have shot him in the butt. You know what I'm saying? In the legs, he didn't have to, and so it still doesn't need to be a shoot to kill if your life is threatened as a blanket statement.
Right. And here's what bothers me as far as the training issue is, if you're able to flip that switch and not use and use your different skill set when you're in affluent white neighborhoods, when you're not shooting first and asking questions later, that's not a training issue. That's a choice issue. That's a human bias issue. When you're able, because if it was a training issue, then everybody would just be getting killed. But they don't just for the white dudes who hop out their car and say, "Do you know who the fuck I am?" They don't shoot that dude and say, "Oh, I thought it was a threat." No, that's not a training issue. That's a human choice. That's a blatant choice issue in the moment, where you don't see somebody as human versus other people.
And those people need to go to prison.
Right.
They need to go to prison. They need to get off the force.
And they need to be held financially accountable.
Yes. And there needs to stop being opportunities for them to jump from police force to police force. Because we've got a lot of officers who they lose their job in this county, but they just go next door county and get another job.
Or to another state.
Yep.
That should not be allowed. You should not be allowed to work in law enforcement, period, again. If you were, especially if you're fired for something like this doesn't even make sense.
Again, we hold everyone else to a higher level of accountability than we do police officers. Like in any other walk of life, if you're a felon, or if you have a violent crime against you, you can't carry a gun, you can't legally own one, and you damn sure can't work in law enforcement. How are they able to get away with, like, be charged with things, go through that process?
Because they're convicted.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Is like obvious, like, and that's the main reason why, is because they can go other places and do it, and like they know nothing's gonna happen, and there is no accountability. But until these pension funds and police, and their funding and their individual pensions are being threatened instead of it being paid out of tax pockets, they're not going to change. Because as long as the taxpayers are paying that money.
Do you think, or do you all support the defunding of the police?
I do, but it's got to, like, that statement, I said this before, that statement has to go further. That's like, people hear defunding the police and it turns people off from even listening to that conversation. So I think there needs to be like reallocation of where those funds go and who's being sent out to handle certain situations. Like for mental health issues, I don't think police should be sent out.
Right.
Like there should be another fund, another segment of funds that are divvied to mental health professionals who go out and deal with that, not dudes with guns and badges who are trained to kill. Though, so when you say defund the police, it can't stop there. It just has to be a reallocation of funds, because police should not be sent out to every situation, I don't think.
Yeah,
Right,
I just had a I'm sorry, lady.
No, go ahead.
I just had a I think because when we talked about this earlier, one of my coworkers, her fiance, he's like 20, I think, or 21 or something like that. And he just got into the academy here in Columbia, and he was just in the academy for 4 weeks. And so I'm like, that's crazy. I was like, he's already out, out in the streets. She was like, yeah. I was like, this is insane. Like, this kid is only 21 years old. He's a big, heavy-set guy, country boy, and he's already out with the car. And I don't think he has a partner with him. I'm not sure. But he's already out in the streets taking calls. Now, that's crazy to me. There's no mental, there's no therapy, none of the above to help him to
That's
be
scary.
prepared.
It's very
4
scary.
weeks.
Right. My cousin, years ago, he was shot by an off-duty correction officer that was a rookie, and he had only been on the job for like 6 months. He mistaken my cousin's identity for somebody else and just started shooting. My cousin almost lost his life because this random dude that was a off-duty correctioner off-duty correction officer, they get trigger happy. They don't even how long do they have a gun? Like, shouldn't they have a gun permit? You know what I mean? Or a couple of years of using a gun or train. Like, there has to be more qualifications for being a police officer. There definitely has to be more training, I believe, but then also more educating our people. I think we talked about this on one of our other shows, where I feel like the people of that neighborhood should be policing that neighborhood. So you have black neighborhoods, you need black cops in these neighborhoods. And you have a Spanish neighborhood, you need Spanish cops in those neighborhoods. You have a white neighborhood, have white cops in those neighborhoods. The problem is that in a lot of our neighborhoods, and to be a police officer, you can't have felonies. So you lock our people up really young, so then they can't get these jobs, within law enforcement, because most of them that would probably be eligible, they're no longer eligible, because you locked this kid up when he was 18 for like having a dime bag of weed on him. So it's just a constant, disgusting, cyclical. I don't even know what word to use for it, that our people are stuck in. And I feel like that's what's even more frustrating. And that's the anger that you see inside of these protests, that, our people are constantly being held down, and how much the oppression affects from generation after generation. And then with these kids, I don't know. So I know I might be going off topic, but my child the other day, he was in school. He got upset because the teacher was asking one of the kids a political question. And so he's asking so Ladanian jumps on his mic and he unmutes himself, and he hits the kid with, "You don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that." So, JR and I, we sit him down, we start asking him questions, and Ladanian has this very, oh God, we just never want to take this away from him. He doesn't fear authority, and I love it, and it's beautiful, and he has this belief in fairness, and it's just so dope and powerful to see. But at the same time, like, I don't want to raise I want our children to be raised knowing that being a Black man is a beautiful, strong thing.
Hello?
Hey, we're here.
So I want to raise our children understanding that I don't want to raise them in the understanding that they are, that because they're Black men in situations with all white people, that they are now victims. And so I definitely don't want them to understand that. I have so many white friends and beautiful white people in my life also. And so I don't want them to walk around life thinking that just because, this white woman as the teacher, she's trying to pull a good, strong point out of these kids. She wants them to get thinking. She wants them to use their brain. And immediately, because of, the climate and what's happening and what they receive as children, they immediately are looking at themselves as victims. That's scary. I want them to understand that being a Black and brown man in America is a strong, beautiful thing, period. And that you get to stand in your power. And not every situation you come into do you have to be so on guard that you don't connect or you don't let anything in. But I don't know if they get to learn that from me. Do you know what I mean? I don't It's just all of this, everything that I've said. It's scary that this is what it is and what it continues to be.
Yep.
Yeah, I think as long as we are not dealing with the cause, then it will continue to kind of raise its ugly head. And I think we are, caught up on the symptoms, in which these are just how it manifests itself in our country, where a cop will shoot a Black person. But I think the cause of it is white supremacy and white privilege. And I think until we focus on that, as that has to change, we ain't going too far. And we're going to be on this cycle of shit's happening again and again and again. And we just have to get white folk to be better. That's where I'm at. We got to get white folk to be better. And not in the sense of we got to teach them, inspire them, train them. Like, that's not even where I'm at. Like, they got to get it. And then, I know we in a society that, it's not cool to blame people, but we really need to take the mirror and be like, the country is racist because of you.
Right.
That's it.
And that's not blame. That's assigning a responsibility.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, we talk about the magical Negro all the time, and the magical Negro does not exist. We can't save you. So
Nor do we want to.
Right, nor we want to. We don't have the time, the energy, or the want to save you and to show you, and as Al always says, if we ain't talking to you, we ain't talking to you.
Right.
But if we are, your toes should be hurting right now. It's got to happen.
Also believe that we have to take responsibility as people too. Not even a year ago, I'm walking now. Like I always say, I think I look Hispanic in my face, right? I mean, I don't know. So I'm in Marshalls and I'm shopping for the boys, and I turn around and a black man. I'm just shopping and I go and I look up, and so I didn't find anything in that rack. So I turned around and I walked away, and this man starts screaming, "Ma'am, I ain't bothering you." And he's looking at me. And I'm like, I turned around, I said, "What?" I said, "Sir, who you talking to?" "Ma'am, I'm talking to you. Every time I go over here, you move over there," as if I was moving to get away from him, because as if I thought that he was like following me around the store, or as if I felt threatened by him. And I literally had to go up to this man and say, "Sir, I'm sorry, but I don't know who you're mistaking me for, but I don't do that. And I know that people do shit like that, but I'm not one of those people." And so we got to do better as people. And that's what I mean by that whole victim mentality at times, where it's not even fucking necessary. And so I'm not saying that this situation right here is one of those times, but because of those times where it's not necessary, then all of these other times come up. And again, it's not an excuse, but it is a piece of it, and it absolutely is a part of it.
Right.
And we do got to do better.
And I think that speaks to, it's interesting that you say that. I think that speaks to the trauma that Gina spoke of earlier, because although from the outside looking in, it's easy to pinpoint those moments when black folks are being ultra sensitive, regarding how they're being treated, or how somebody speaks to us and how people react to us. But if you look at the trauma that black folks have been dealt in this country, and it's been scientifically proven that trauma is passed down through DNA, generation after generation, that it's almost unavoidable. It's almost, if you had surgery on your knee, on the same knee 6 times, and somebody goes to touch your knee, you're gonna jump and avoid at all costs somebody touching your knee, because you're ultra sensitive to that area. That's how it is. You're traumatized, and so, like, for that man, you don't know what he's been through. You don't know how people. No, well, right. So, but so to you, it is an overreaction. To me, it probably would have been an overreaction. But you don't know.
No, and it's not even that it was an overreaction. To me, it was more looking at like, damn, like this is how this man is walking through life living. It wasn't, oh, he overreacted.
No, I'm talking about the reaction to, like you said, his way of being. Like you saying, like, we have to be better as people, and him living in that state of whether it was anger or paranoia, whatever it was. Like, we don't know what he's been through and what his ancestors have been through to cause that, because something had to have happened for him to think. Like, I don't think, unless he's, unless there's a mental situation, I don't think anybody would just pull that out of the blue. Something had to cause him to come to that perception. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's built-in trauma.
While I don't necessarily subscribe to the built-in trauma thing, what I would, just to piggyback on what he's saying though, is this idea though that there are weird acting, different acting, inappropriately acting, whatever. Like, we all act in a certain kind of way, regardless of your race, ethnicity, culture, whatever. But for white folk to be like, well, because black people act this way, I therefore have the right to now think we're better than them. You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, that's just where the white supremacy and white privilege thing is still, at the end of the day, that's the cause. Because you'll look at black folk and they act in a certain kind of way, and it's like, well, when a black girl is twerking, oh, she a slut.
When a white girl is twerking, oh, she's being creative. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's that type of different standards that they might use as an excuse. Well, that's why we are. But no, it's still white supremacy, because if you would look at that action and judge it differently because they're white or black, that's the problem. And to me, that's the problem with white folk. They got to understand that and be different.
No, and I completely agree. What I'm saying is that when I say we got to do better, I mean transfer the energy into different things. Now, something that JR always talks about and that I love and I admire is that the one thing you don't want to do, and the reason why, this war literally on race is important to keep alive. It's not important to keep alive, but the reason, what the heck was I going to say? So the reason why the history of slavery, everything, and what we're still experiencing in today's day, the reason why it's so important between the trauma, between everything, is because we don't want it to be whitewashed, right? So it's like a catch-22 to say, no, we got to do better, and we want to bring the energy to what we want to see, right? And the kind of futures that we want for our children, because you don't at the same time want that history to get whitewashed. So it's like, where do we go as people? Where do you have a different line, or where do you define how to move forward and how to instill a difference, and where we focus the energy of still keeping that history and making sure you don't forget what has happened, right?
And still not be a victim.
Right, but still not be right. How does that happen?
Black power. And what I mean by that is it is a power, as opposed to looking at your history as a victim, a source of victimization.
Right.
It's a source of strength. So I don't mind watching slave movies, because when I watch slavery movies, what I think about is that, the people who endured one of the worst genocidal acts in humanity, I am the descendant of one of those people. So if my ancestors could overcome that and be these great people to deal with all of that, and I have that blood running through me, I'm a strong motherfucker. Like, just inherently. So, like, to me, like, that's where when I mean black power, that's what I mean. And, like, looking at our history and using it as a source of power in terms of how you exist and walk in this world.
Yeah. And I think there needs to be some sense of balance there as well. I can't watch too many slave movies without feeling like, God damn, man. Like, our history does not start here. And this is not the only reason we're great. So I agree with you that it's a point of greatness. It's not the point of greatness. There has to be some kind of balance.
Correct.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. And so it's, where do you start? You start with the story, right? The real story. But you start with our children, right? And you start with us having conversations even as adults, because there's so much that we just don't know, right? And so Asa Hilliard talked about it, like this idea of starting our story from slavery. And most of us, that's where we start our story from, right? Because that's, even though we know little about it because we are miseducated about it, we know more about it than we do than pre-slavery, right? So that's typically where we start. But when you start from slavery, you start at a point of not even human. You're just slaves, right? And then it erases all of the greatness prior to. That's not our beginning. And so if we just help people to understand that, yes, so Al, so from what we know, you change that into stories of empowerment, but it's even that much more powerful when you know prior to that we came from greatness.
But to me, like, that's so that I would object to this idea that we were slaves and we weren't human, right? So to me, even as slaves, even though someone might have said we were 3/5 human, that never robbed us of our humanity and our greatness. So I agree that it shouldn't start there. But even without the context of before slavery, the humanity and greatness of that period in terms of African existence on this planet should never be diminished in any way, shape, or form, because to me, that is still some of the greatest years of Africans being on this planet, for even the fact of having to endure that. That to me, that is because persistence, resilience, being able to, for someone to even exist in a way, for me to be here to talk about it, was an act of greatness.
Right. But yes, right. But it's also, I'm talking about not just your interpretation, but it's your one is your interpretation and spreading that, like I'm saying, telling the real story like how it is, but how the story is typically told. It's from that perspective of slavery, and even in that definition, not even being able to refer to us as humans. And so, yes, there's lots of humanity in it, but that's not how the story is told. And so I'm just saying we have to tell the story from our perspective, inserting all of those stories of greatness and helping children and others to make that shift of, yeah, this period was horrific, but there was still greatness in us as we went through that period. And that part is just often left out. That's all I'm saying. So, great show, guys. On that note, we will never come to complete consensus about this. Other than I think we all agree that the situation is fucked up. The solutions vary. We also all agree that the primary problem is this idea of white supremacy and racism, and absolutely, if we could eradicate that, then it all gravy, right? But it's really not going to go anywhere. And so, what do we do? How do we mitigate the damage? How do we survive in this space? How do we not just survive but thrive, right? And how do we help our young people to do that as well? Before we go, I do want to make sure that we thank our patron of the week. So we want to give a shout out to April Freeman. Thank you for your support. And for all of those who support us, not just financially, although we love that. So if you have the opportunity to do that, please do so. But also just for listening and giving us your support that way. So you all have a great night, and we will see you next week. Same time, same channel.
Yes, good night, beautiful people.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Peace. Tell 3 friends to tell 3 friends about One Eye Shut.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Play this commercial.
We're told that greatness is exceptional, when it should be expected. You choose every day to live your life intentionally, without apology for how bright your light may shine. So go be great. Go be brilliant. Go be you. Go defy life. The Defy Life movement is one that speaks to each of us in its own way. Defy Life Gear speaks to us all by reminding us that one size does not fit all. Visit defylifegear.com to get fitted for greatness.